put a natural feeding to the test. From Scotland's Highlands to the coast of Dover, we are the raw feeders of Great Britain, yeah!
Good morning, welcome to the Raw Feeders of Great Britain podcast. Thank you for coming on. You need no introduction. You are the one and only Caroline. Do you know what I mean? Everyone knows you.
They know you. Hopefully for the right reasons.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, massive fanboy of yours, so thank you.
Oh, nice.
I wanted to get you on here for obvious reasons, but the main thing is obviously about the APNC that you're displaying right there. Because from what I've read on the surface level of it, is absolutely amazing, and to me I think it's super beneficial, and it's going to be really needed going in the future if it's going to go the way I think it's going to go. So can you just tell us a little bit more about it?
Yes, so it's another set of letters for everybody to remember, isn't it? The APNC, but it stands for Association of Pet Nutrition Consultants. So dog, and then it can extend to cat. As we move and expand, I guess we're going to have different people coming through with different practices. So there's one lady actually that asked to join this week who has done a postgraduate in tortoise nutrition, which is really sweet.
Wow.
Yeah, so we do think all animals need to be considered. Mostly people that work with dogs are on there at the moment. We do have a lovely associate who works with rabbits and cats as well. So yeah, it's a professional organisation that is aiming to bring some regulation to those that work as a pet nutrition consultant or a canine nutrition consultant. We set it up, myself and Katie McCall, a few years ago, two-ish years ago. It came about because there aren't many of us in this industry doing this sort of role. There's a lot more on the periphery, kind of working as what they call dietitians, or they might call themselves nutritionists, or whatever they might use. But actually within the manufacturing and from kind of sort of more than 10 years ago, there aren't many of us. And if you have a client that you're finding challenging, or you're feeling lonely because, you know, you're on your own a lot doing this kind of work, it was almost like, where do we turn to? And Katie and I turned to each other a lot, and we said, wouldn't it be great if we had something like the BANT, the British Association of Nutritional Therapists? Wouldn't it be great if we had that for what we do in our profession? So yeah, we decided to start it off that basis. And, you know, it has been tremendously organic in terms of how it's grown. It's evolved, really. We've kind of gone, well, what should we do about this? And the answer's just presented itself. And the people have come and have been very keen on doing the mentorship, because it's with the mentorship, whilst it's sort of pitched on an education basis at the level of level 4, it's not an official national framework level 4, like my level 3 that I teach with Canine Holistic Science Academy. That's an official Ofcol regulated national framework qualification. Our mentorship is slightly different. So what you're really doing is getting our brains for like the 6 months or the year to help you to become a better or a consultant in the first place. So we do talk a little bit about marketing, business coaching, where to find clients, how to present yourself, how to build empathy, all that kind of thing that you need to consider as well. Because just having the knowledge of being a nutrition consultant and having that knowledge of, say, what zinc does in the body is actually not the whole story of being a consultant. There's so much more to it. Knowing how to discuss canine nutrition as well at an entry level, so that no matter who you're talking to, you can help them to understand what it is that they want to do, and you know, what could work best for their dog or their cat. So yeah, there's lots to it to kind of discuss, and also the longer you do it, the more you practice, the more you can see why people are asking the questions that they're asking as well about dog food or about their dog's ailment, and if there's a solution. And so you kind of build up that understanding of the public perception of dog food and dog nutrition as well. And we help you with that. There's lots as well in terms of teaching about the guidelines or the nutrition regulations. So we talk a lot about that, the science, or kind of lack of robust science anyway. And sort of the NRC and how that happens. We also teach you within the mentorship how to understand the clinical guidelines in terms of ailment-based recipes. So how to formulate for kidney issues, how to formulate, whatever the stage, how to formulate for pancreatic issues, leaky gut, gastrointestinal permeability, and all that kind of thing. So we're really supporting you in having the tools to be able to then help the dogs, which is like cliche what I'm all about. That is the ultimate game at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah, and do you know what? That's actually really valuable because you hit the nail on the head. Like people, success, soon said they work hard, they get the certification that they needed, they've wanted, and then they've got it. But then what's the next step? Because and then there's the whole aspect of, especially on social media, it's a minefield. Unless you're good at social media marketing, things like that, or know how to stand out from the crowd, it's difficult. It's different. That's a whole different kettle of fish. So
Yeah,
to have
yeah.
a support network in place to help guide with that as well, it's only beneficial because yeah, it's so soul destroying to putting out what you think is a great piece of content, and then it's like just talking to abyss. Not one like, no nothing, no reshirt or anything, and it's really disheartening. So to speak to people in your shoes that are going through it as well, that's amazing. And that's that hand holding service and community spirit. That's awesome. Person, that's what I think anyway.
Community spirit is for sure. Yeah, because it's really, you can do all the marketing you want, all the social media stuff you want, but your energy, your enthusiasm for the role, that's what draws the clients. And I think that's across the board, whatever business you're in. So your confidence, your grounding, your enthusiasm, your passion, your excitement for it, it's yeah, it's that's the attractive point. That's the magnetic point. And all business coaches, generally speaking, end up explaining that, but they may sort of call it in a different way. But the confidence is really key as well. And I think when you're in that community, you do build that confidence because you realize you're not the only one that's got that concern, or you're not the only one that's got that misbelief, or that imposter syndrome. And yeah, it does really help to have that community for sure.
Yeah, because that's something that's I think severely lacking. That's why I think I'm really interested in the APNC. But to be on it as well, you do have to do like the off-qual minimum of a level 3.
Yes, you do have to have a background understanding of the anatomy, really, and in terms of food. Yeah. Within the mentorship, there is a whole anatomy and physiology course. Actually, we don't tend to talk about what's in it. There's actually loads of really cool stuff in it. There's also a data analysis, microbiome data analysis set of workshops that I did with Carol. They're all you get like a login, and then they're like behind the scenes for mentorship students or associates. So you get all this as well. You get Katie's anatomy and physiology course, which used to be a course she just offered on its own. So there's a lot in there, that you get to learn from.
Yeah. So like a really large knowledge base that's constantly evolving as well.
Yeah, and we're adding bits and pieces to it as well all the time. Yeah, to that knowledge base. So the key really with the APNC, there's two ways in really, or ways to become an associate and become part of it. One is to do the mentorship. Now, to do the mentorship, you need to show either a level 3 diploma like the one that I teach on the Holistic Science Academy, or if you, for instance, have done some other, I don't know, say an animal science degree and then something else connected with dogs, or nutrition of a pet, say the tortoise nutrition lady, for instance. So those students, once they've had a chat to Katie, as long as we're sure that they have an understanding of what they need to know, then you can potentially join. You don't necessarily have to have done the level 3. the other thing is, if you can show that you're already practicing and you have competency of formulation of recipes, you can just join as an associate. You don't need to do the mentorship.
Yeah.
So
Right, okay.
yeah, there's different ways that people can be part of it. And what I found through teaching the level 3 is that if somebody's done, say, an animal science degree, even if they've done a very short course in canine nutrition, a lot of the time there's gaps. So there's bits and pieces missing. Most of the time it's understanding how pet foods are manufactured. Because as a consultant, if you've got somebody that's rocked up on a Zoom in front of you with a dog and they're on, say, I don't know, bonkers bakers, I call it. Like, you need to know how that was made. Like, we can make our assumptions as soon as I say that name, but you do really need to know how that was made. And say they're on something, a different brand, say Eden, you need to know how that was made. And you also need to know how to see through their marketing to understand how like the supermarket brands that might actually be. So sometimes, like, you can have all this knowledge about the molecules and the nutrients and what they do in the body, but the basics of how the food has been made that the dog has been eating for the last 6 years of its life before it got the skin condition, that's really key, because it gives you an understanding of where deficiencies might be or what might be going on in the body. And you start to see patterns over the years of practicing as well between the different foods. So yeah, like, understanding that is really, really key. And you wouldn't get that from doing an animal science degree, for instance.
No,
So
yeah.
with the level 3, although it is only a level 3 as such, I think it's very grounded in its qualification and in its content. And I actually would say that that is a better start for being a consultant. It's also Ofqual regulated as well. Not that the science degree isn't, but if you really want to understand about food and feeding, that's the place to start.
Yeah. And funny what you said a minute ago about the whole process of being made, because
Yeah.
obviously with commercialized products like in the dry food world, obviously the Holy Grail is typically a synthetic premix. But is it true that the synthetic premixes aren't always equal? They can use different forms of, for
Of
example,
course, yeah.
chelated versions,
Mm.
and then knowing how bioavailable they are for the individual could highlight some gaps why it could be causing an issue. If that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. No, you're spot on. I mean, it just depends on the choice of mineral that they've used, the choice of vitamin. Like, it also, so there's bioavailability involved in that, but also the cost factor. So they may have chosen a cheaper type of vitamin, a more synthetic type. So yeah, it's understanding that is key. And one of the things I'm always saying to people is, when you turn over the back of a packet of pet food and you see all these stats, so you see like vitamin A X amount, magnesium X amount's been added, all these nutrients, these are what's been added. So what you're actually looking for is for them to either not be there or be as low as possible, because they only have to add them to a food that doesn't have them in the first place. So what you want is a really good food that's got all them in the first place. Do you see what I mean? So
Yeah.
they're not the amount that's in there, they're what's been added. So yeah, it's no wonder then that when we come to fresh whole foods, lightly cooked or raw, you find there's nothing added, because there's been nothing removed or taken away. There's very little ever added to a fresh whole food.
Yeah. Do you know what? Things like this, I have to be careful because I can put myself down a rabbit hole with conversations like this. But yeah, it's like you say, additives and like I said, when people see additives, especially when they've been putting like a fresh food product, they see what's added in, but they can't see what's in the foundational bit in general. Do you know what I mean? So if some of them just use a standard premix, as like what Fediaf says, if that goes in, that's fine. Do you know what I mean? Your calibre is completely and balanced. But it's not always a reality of the actual product itself, unless it's been analysed afterwards and been tested, like the end product. But not many do, and I find that's where things can go wrong for some dogs.
I think so. And I do think as well that there are a lot more deficiencies going on contributing to disease than there is microbiome imbalances. Like I'm as geeky on microbiome as the next person or the next nutrition fan, but I think we need to discern now and not just be throwing microbiome tests at every dog that's poorly, because it kind of has gone a little bit that way. And the discernment is really needed. And that's where doing something like the mentorship will help, or just being the type of person that can do that would really help, because there are a lot of deficiencies that are linked in with the symptoms that we see with dogs. One of my students had just done a fantastic literature review. I mean, talk about rabbit hole. She did a massive rabbit warren, I think, into vitamin D and vitamin D deficiencies. And I remember Junior Hudson talking about that in 2012. So, you know, this isn't something new necessarily, but it's still being under analysed and under looked at. And I guess it's a bit more difficult because dogs have got to have an actual blood test, whereas people can just pick up the stool and send it off to get the biome data on the biome. But, you know, the dog might not want necessarily to go and have a blood test. You know, my dog is just like the most princess at the vet. She wouldn't like that at all. So I probably wouldn't do it for that reason. But yeah, like understanding the deficiencies and understanding what they can mean in the body, I think is just being overlooked a lot of the time.
Yeah, definitely. And I've always said that being able to spot the deficiencies is a great thing. But then I know some people in the academic world, they'll come back and say, well, hang on, if it's got to that point where there's something systematic, it's already too late. But it's like, hang on, well, so we just ignore it then? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, not necessarily. And you see, the body, because the body uses certain nutrients at certain times, like for instance, if the body's under stress, it will use lots of B vitamins and it will use lots of magnesium. And it also excretes more magnesium because of the utilization process. But the irony is you need more magnesium and you need more B vitamins when you're stressed, because you're using them at that fast rate and excreting them. So if you've just got, say, a standard diet, even a fresh diet, raw or lightly cooked, and it's got a standard amount of magnesium, it's somewhere in the parameter of the maximum and minimum, then essentially your dog hasn't got enough or might not have enough. So we have to understand as well about the lifestyle of the dog, and could it be that they're not necessarily deficient in terms of there's less than what the guidelines would recommend, but they might still need more of it. They might be becoming deficient throughout the week because they're experiencing more stress. So it's things like that, understanding things like that, we sort of weave into the APNC as well.
So it's more like you're covering like the therapeutics door side of it, of what may be needed.
But yeah, I mean, I guess that's what you're doing, isn't it? Yeah.
Because like I say, it's interesting. I've always said for a long time, obviously, healthy dog versus sick dog, complete apples and oranges, which is why I keep therapeutic guidance away from the Royal Physical Great Britain, because I find online you get a lot of groups where always coming from a good place, but they're giving out guidance to a dog that they don't know from Adam, and what they're recommending might be the completely wrong thing. I've said an itchy dog, for example, the reason for the itch list is endless, but yet they're always defaulting to the same top 5.
It's interesting with groups because when you're learning something, like back in the day, we spent a lot more time together, humans did, and we would have conversations about things. We would say, oh, have you heard about this, or do you think this? And we would kind of banter about stuff, and we would throw out ideas, and that was how we learned, by doing that. But now we're doing that on Facebook groups, and I think partly when people are answering, it's a need to put what they feel they know out into the world to express themselves. I don't necessarily think they're going, okay, I feel really sorry for this dog, let me think what I would do. I think it's like an expression, and it's about learning and growth. So I don't know that we're ever going to sort of stop that, if you like. I
Yeah.
would like to think that somewhere along the line, energetically, magnetically, the Guardians still found who they were supposed to find for their dog's own growth and their own growth. So yeah, I think a lot of it is people just posting because that's how people learn, and in a way that should be celebrated. Obviously, what we don't want is people putting each other down. There's nothing worse than seeing that, and it's like, okay, that person might not have learnt the correct thing, but they've learnt that from somewhere. They haven't come out the womb knowing that, like they've learnt that from somewhere. So
No, that's right.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's we should be supporting each other really, and saying things like, "Oh, that's an interesting school of thought. Where did you read that?" And they might say, "Oh, I read it on so and so," and we can say, "Oh, that website's made by Hills," or that, like we're like, rather than just sort of being like, "You're wrong, I'm right."
Yeah, yeah.
It's about thinking about where did they get that information from.
No, but it's absolutely spot on because that's when like I said, I took 2 years away from the group. Then I come back. That was one of the things that I wanted to put in place. I didn't want to be there to dictate to people on what they should and shouldn't do. I basically, the way I frame things now is, this is what I do. What do you do? And let's learn together,
Yes,
rather than
you
you're
know,
right and I'm wrong.
your posts are very diplomatic. They really, really are. And I do think that is what's needed.
I should have been a politician in a former life, I think. But yeah, I just do my best because I just don't like things becoming cult like, or
Mhm.
this, if you don't do it this way, that's it, you're not welcome. I welcome everyone, even people that are feeding kibble that want to add fresh to the bowl but don't know how, or they haven't got the affordability to go completely fresh. That's fine. As long as they're learning, they're welcome. Do you know what I mean? As long as people are being kind, and that's my hardest line in the sand. Be kind, or you go. Anything else, do you know what I mean? We can work with. Um, but yeah, I've personally, I've been unofficially like referring people to the APNC for therapeutic stuff because I don't allow it in the group because it can go wrong, and I've seen it go wrong. For people take generic guidance to their own dog, and it just backfires. So I keep it away, and I'll just signpost through to the APNC because I know anybody that's on there that's working alongside yourself, had your mentorship, will have a strong foundational knowledge and more to put them in the right place. And if they can't help them, that person can't help directly, they've got somewhere else to plant signposts to. It's all about the network. And for
Yeah,
me, that's why I find value in it.
that's part of our code of conduct as well, to work within your own limits. So each consultant will know what they're good at, where their strengths are, where their weaknesses are. Yeah, and really understand that as well. And it is about nutrition, it's not teaching you how to be a naturopath. So we're not going deep dives into how much, herb wise a dog might need,
Yeah,
unless it's used as a whole food. So things like thyme, oregano, parsley, something like that, as I would see as a whole food that you're adding in, that might have therapeutic benefits as well, or garlic, for instance. But yeah, so we're not going into the whole naturopathy and all the different ways that you could work with a dog that way. It is very much about nutrition, and supporting the body in a holistic way, but mostly through nutrition. Because, as I was saying before, like there's so many ailments that are related to deficiencies or things we worry about, and behaviors as well that are related to deficiencies, that I just think are being missed. We just don't. And what happens, of course, is that the dog will switch on to a fresher food, be that raw or lightly cooked, and the behaviors or the ailments might reduce because suddenly the nutrients available to them, and it wasn't before. Whether they get enough then means whether it has that long term change. So it still could be that that kind of person would have a consult, and then they would understand more about what was deficient in the food they were feeding before, what have they had since, and yeah, maybe there's just a few bits and pieces that can be shifted and changed. Or sometimes it is just about healing a leaky gut because there's plenty of the nutrient, they're just not actually absorbing it.
yeah. And to be honest with you, again, observationally, that I think leaky gut, there's always something to it. You'll get, again, academics that completely refuse leaky gut for some reason, that it doesn't exist. Again, that's other more social media stuff that's trending by doctors now that are coming on to debunk things and things like that.
I
And
don't
it's,
get that. That's because years ago, and my students have heard this story before, but I, years ago, used to work for a cleaning company. And I went to pick up, because I was the driver, and I went to pick up these people from this house in Cambridge. And one of the academics, it was one of their houses, and he was a doctor or something, must have been Adam Brooks or whatever. And he was giving this whole reading out, I mean, probably shouldn't have heard it really these days of GDPR, but he was reading out practice stuff. And his secretary was obviously writing it down back in the day before we had any kind of software to help us with this thing. So this was ages ago. And he was talking about this intestinal permeability and and I just think we knew about it. How can they possibly come on and legitimately say that it doesn't work? I just don't understand. It's got to be just for sensational clickbait. It's got to be.
It's got to be. But again, it's because of the white coat effect that they can use their status, and people are naturally going to listen to them more than somebody else that said not got a PhD and things like that. So I think it's a disservice. Which I've always said, it's not always about the certification somebody's got; it's what they do with it. And you have to do your own research. Never take what you're hearing from somebody as gospel. Get a second opinion. Do your own deep dives. Do you know what I mean? Just because somebody with a PhD or a master's is saying something, it doesn't make it gospel and absolute truth. They could have ulterior motives behind what they're saying. For example, they may be getting paid by a supplement company to say certain things.
Or they might just really believe it because they haven't done their own rabbit hole research, because they're so energetically not in that frequency. They're just not in that frequency. It's just not going to find them. So it baffles them. It baffles me that they do it. It might baffle them that we can possibly believe this, because it's just not in who they are. It's not in their life. It's just not energetically there for them. This is where we need to go around with pumps of homeopathy that opens people's minds and just spray it into the aura, go into the doctors, spray it round, watch them suddenly offer to refer you for acupuncture or something.
There's so many professionals out there that are tunnel visioned and really are pigeonholed, and they're scared to step outside of that box because the uncertainty is scary, especially when coming from an academic background. You spent thousands on your degree, your qualifications, to get to the end of it and think, there's so much I still don't know. You just stick to what you do know. Do you know what I mean? I get it. But to be closed-minded and just tunnel-visioned, it don't help no one, especially when you do it with an attitude as well.
Well, this is it. It's the putting it down of it, isn't it? And ridiculing people, and there's no need for that.
No, definitely not. It don't cost nothing to be kind. Do you know what I mean? You can disagree with somebody, and I love open, healthy debate, professional debate that doesn't result in insults. I love that stuff. But as soon as somebody turns straight away, throws an insult in, that's it. To me, they've already lost. If that's what they got a result to, because they can't get back themselves up, they've lost the battle already. But it's like me and Fivo were saying on the episode a couple of weeks ago, is that we don't care about how it's working as long as it is working. And a lot of people are too quick to throw the word out, like placebo and things like that. But does that matter? If it's working, it's working. Do you know what I mean? And that's what's important.
Yeah, if it's safe and it's working, then
I mean, why are we arguing?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You'd think they'd be interested in to know more about it, But I think the tide is turning, and it's happening at grassroots level, and it's happening at guardianship level as well. So, the tide is. I mean, we've had some good conversations with the Royal College of Vets. And really, I think the conversation would have extended if it wasn't for the then big news about the Vet Act reform. So I think now that's all going through. At the moment, there's the word invasive in it, as many of you know. The Vet Act is since the 1960s, and I think really the reform needs to be completed and finalised before the APNC can then pick up a conversation with the Royal College in terms of what we're going to do and how things might be regulated. But it is going to happen. It is going to happen. So
it needs to happen. It really does. Like I said, even like myself, I've stepped back from that side of things until I've got all my ducks in a row because of where I believe it is going to go. And I'm personally tired of seeing people doing basic certifications like for the Centre of Excellence, grabbing some cheap insurance and then acting like they've got a PhD and they know everything and they're talking absolutes. It really grinds my gears, especially when 9 times out of 10 it's the wrong information. But they're saying it with chest, and because they're really good at social media marketing, it flies and everybody just laps it up. And that's just a different topic for another time, but really does grind my gears, which is why I'll always recommend that people speak to people like through the APNC that I know have had your mentorship, because I don't want to get hoodwinked online, spending money unnecessarily by people that shouldn't be spending money with. And at the moment, until I've got something off call myself, I'm going to group myself in that category, and I've taken myself out of that equation because I don't want to be a hypocrite. I don't want to back something and then work against it at the same time. Because I'm all for that regulation because it's going to stop people peeing me off, so to speak.
I think it is hard for people because when you sort of first get into canine nutrition, you find at first, and this is partly, it becomes your creation, because if there's any part of you even subconsciously that doesn't believe in yourself, then this new thing that you're putting out into the world, you're going to manifest people that kind of reflect that subconscious fear that's really running the show, or that concern, or that imposter syndrome. So then we start to say, okay, I really want to have a qualification. So depending on what we can afford at the time, people will, or what they find at the time online, people will get these short qualifications because they feel like they want to have a piece of paper that then highlights and shows that really they do know what they're talking about. But until you work on that imposter syndrome, it's always going to be there, even if you've done the level 3 off quote, the mentorship, the next qualification that I'm working on, even if you do everything, even if you do the animal science after that, and even if you become a vet, you still have the imposter syndrome. I have lots of holistic vet friends, and they are still not confident in doing what they do, which I just think is wow. Like, I could, given the clients I get and how keen they are in finding a holistic vet, I could fill their diaries. But they say they can't get people. And it's like, wow, this is bonkers, So I think it's about your self-belief inside as much as it is about you having the knowledge as well. And that's the bit that I kind of try to bring to the table, even with the Natural Dog Expo, that high vibration, that belief in yourself, and that community that backs you.
100%. It's all as well about your personality as well, because people buy people, not just a service. So even if you're more expensive, if somebody likes you as a person rather than somebody that's cheaper, but they don't like that person, they're going to go with you. You're worth the extra money. I personally class myself as Marmite. You're going to hate me or love me, and I'm not bothered either way. But yeah, people buy people, and people should be confident in themselves because you are who you are. And as long as you've got that open growth mindset and you hold your hands up, so hang on, I don't know, I'll come back to you on that, rather than trying to wing an answer, potentially get it wrong, I think there's massive value in that. Because if somebody reaches out to them and they don't know how to deal with that, they can signpost to you. That you can then signpost on somebody else if you didn't know. There's nothing wrong with holding your hands up saying, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. So tell us about these circles that you've got down here, because I can see you've got Julie's Naturally Healthy Pets. What?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
all.
like, I used
These,
to live near Julie when they first started this, from her garage. Absolutely fantastic. I mean, she is a classic person who's been doing this for so long. She's built up so much knowledge. She really, really has. So they're the type of raw pet stores we need. People who have been in it since the day dot. They know the days when all we could get was tripe. And look at how it is now. So yeah, that's so cool that she's supporting you. And then you've got, is that Emma at the Dog's Deli? Are they
it is, yes.
Manchester away? Okay, yeah. Lovely, lovely
And
lady.
I always
I,
say finer by nature, but they've rechanged to Fur Baby Nutrition, haven't
it's
they?
been
So,
changed. Yeah,
yeah,
Gary. Yeah,
yeah.
he's a nice guy. In fact, we in the level 3 course, we go to his factory for tours. So we do
Oh,
factory tours there in Herefordshire. Yeah, he's a really nice guy to do that for us. He's cool. And then Embark on Raw. Now I've heard of them, but I'm not sure where they are. Where are they?
yeah. So they're one of the stockists, basically, because I just put a shout out in the group, um, the retailers group, asking for sponsorship for those that help for the backdrops
Are
of
they
course of the
northern though?
podcast. They
Northern
are.
or
I'll tell you
are you just
exactly.
having a look?
Yeah,
I
because
know the
I've
name.
forgotten.
I don't know whether they've been to the expo. Maybe that's how I know the name.
It'd help if I could spell them all thumbs today.
I have lots and lots of retailers that come to my level 3. It's terrific. I love teaching them.
Yeah, so they're over CM. So is that? Oh, that's Jack Chelmsford way. Billericay.
Yes. Okay. Fabulous. Yeah. I can remember when the day we hardly had anybody in Essex, so that's cool. And then, I can't read that one on the end. It just looks like a
Oh,
blur of orange and. So
yeah,
there's
that's a
coaching advice of switching your logo to something more legible.
BTB Dog Supplies. So where are they? They're over at.
That's not Rihanna.
Someone is at the front door.
Well, they can wait.
Might be BTB with your latest order, Mike.
Yeah, so they're over at, in Tewkesbury. They do a lot of like dog shows and stuff. Do a lot of sponsorship that way. So obviously, people from around that area are going to know that logo straight away.
Okay.
But yeah, they're gracefully, like I said, they just said that they sponsor it. So I opened 5 spots just to have them permanently placed on the podcast, just to help me push it forward and get the ball rolling, because I was eager to do it and I've always wanted to do it. And yeah, if it wasn't for them, it wouldn't be possible.
I just
Although,
think independence, Mike, is so important. I know you've
yeah, they are.
probably said this before with other people. It just is. They're a vital part of this. So let's mention, because I forgot this, it's just popped into my brain. Why aren't you talking about the rewards? So I know they're not APNC, specifically APNC related, but I'm going to be putting on the first ever Raw Pet Food Industry Awards, May the 1st, Saturday, May the 1st, next year, 2027. There'll be loads of opportunities to vote, to nominate, to give the award away on stage, things like that. So it's going to be really cool. And I hope really community-based, really supportive. That's the vibe I'm bringing to this. Really fun, really celebratory of all the hard work that we put in. And there's going to be retail categories. So there'll be Raw Retailer of the Year, but we're doing it for different areas. So it's not just going to be one in the whole of the UK, because I didn't think that was particularly
Yeah.
kind of, yeah, it's kind of not fair, I don't think, because the demographic is so different in each area. So yeah, so we're going to have different areas, and there's also going to be Raw Retail Assistant of the Year as well, to honour someone who doesn't
Okay.
necessarily own or run the shop, but yeah, it could even be the best Saturday girl you've ever had. Like you couldn't live without
Oh,
that sort of thing. So yeah, there's going to be those categories as well as obviously the manufacturing side of it, and the brand side of it.
well, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, because also was at the expo. You mentioned this was going to come out, and you got Nick to read it out,
Yeah.
which I think it's great, and especially if it's plugged on socials or what, because it should be more like a proper celebrated awards night. Because like I said, these people are absolutely invaluable at changing the direction, helping turn the tide, so to speak, of whole pet foods in general. Because if people are literally putting their hard-earned cash into setting up these stores and focusing on just fresh foods, they've got to believe in it. It's not just a little side earner; it's a passion. Like your general pet shops that may stick a freezer in it because a certain brands ask them to, but they're not going to be as passionate as those that are just selling raw foods. And do you know what? They're extremely valuable. They really are. And do you know, I'm forever grateful for them. And the knowledge as well, completely different. Apples and oranges going to a large retailer versus a small independent that lives and breathes it,
Mm.
completely different. Large retailers just sell it. The knowledge for it is it's lacking. And I know, trust me. Um,
Yes. Well, unless they go into Hailsham Jollies,
yeah,
then they'll
so
find you and they will have struck gold. When I worked at Holland and Barrett when I was like 16, 17, I had a queue. People used to say, go and see that girl in Holland and Barrett. She knows what she's talking about. Yeah, so that would be you, that will. People in the Hailsham area will be like, we know who to go to.
well, yeah, because to be honest with you, every time somebody walks in with a question, I just get five fingers pointing at me. It's just me.
Yeah.
But I like it because, like I said, I'm passionate for it. I live and breathe it, and to a lot of people, it's overwhelming and confusing. And I can understand why. Obviously, commercialized pet foods like kibbles do so well because there's no brain process in it. It's just grab, feed, done. Uh, but it's not always, like I say, what's best for the pet. And manufacturers know that it's all about trade-offs for convenience, and those trade-offs are getting more and more apparent as time goes on, in my view. Um, so yeah, I'm just glad most people are going back to the fresher side of it because thankfully people started to humanize the pets a bit more. Um, but at the same time, it also makes us vulnerable to emotional marketing for certain supplements as well. Things like your probiotics, your electrolytes, and things like that are marketed heavily to us. It's transferring over into the pet space, and yeah,
Yeah, people have got
they're
to
not
start
always needed.
somewhere. They've got to start somewhere, haven't they? And very often it's those people that do end up with a consult anyway. They've spent X amount and they've got the biome test and they still haven't got the results or they haven't got the answers. So yeah, they find you in the end. And there are more dogs that are poorly, which is the sad thing. More and more dogs are being affected, and they pick up so much from us as well. We're running round
Yeah,
and filling up on coffee and doing 10 things at once, and dogs are picking up on this and it's manifesting somatically in their body. It's just what's happening. And so that they just need so much more support than they've ever needed before, I think. And there seems to be a denser population of dogs as well per square mile, so the kind of opportunity to really decompress is being lost. So whereas they might have been able to make one corner their corner and no dog ever went over the top of it, now it's like, oh, another dog's been over the top of my corner. And it's instantly that alertness is related to the cortisol release. So, it's even little things like that, which is absolutely fine. And it should be a normal thing that your dog can release some cortisol, become alert. But actually, if they can't like break that down in their liver properly and they can't remove that optimally from their body, it stacks and it becomes an issue. And we don't know this is happening because we can't see inside, so until we see an external symptom or a loose stool, we don't know this is going on. And so in my other work that I do a lot of calming dogs down, a lot of like grounding them, releasing somatic trauma, getting guardians to really be with them in a different way, in a heart-based way rather than a worried way or a control-based way, which is usually our mind that does that. That's why I'm pointing up here. So I just think that's really valuable as well. I mean, if they are calmer and they are more grounded, they can definitely digest their food better. So usually if you've got a dog with like loose stools and things like that, I would go down the kind of recipe / deficiency route, as well as getting that dog to be more grounded, definitely. So they don't just get nutrition when they come on a consult with me. They sometimes get a free canine hypnotherapy audio, or they'll just get something or a meditation for the guardian if the guardian comes on stressed, So it's like we need that kind of thing with it, because that matters
100%.
too. And the body needs to be in a state of absorption or a state of bioavailability, if you like. So that matters as well. It's really key, I think, for dogs these days. It's very stimulating, this environment that we've brought them into and that we've created around them.
Yeah, it definitely is, and over sterile as well, in my opinion.
Oh God, yeah. I think that's changing a little bit. I mean, I'm a tidy person. I can't cope if it's not tidy. Like, it's allowed to get messy as long as I've got that kind of half an hour to an hour to just do, everything goes back where it's meant to go. And then I can breathe again. Like, I'm not like, oh, that's out of place, I've got to put it back. Like, I can, over a couple of days, let things accumulate. There's a physics term for that, and I can't think what it is offhand, where things get all messy and then go back to normal. Can't think what it is. Is it thermo something? I'll have to look that up. But yeah, there's a physics term for where energy and stuff gets moved around and then regulates itself again. And I think that is how the energies and the frequencies of life go.
Yeah, so is that like similar as well to how like feng shui works? Like you
Could
be.
I mean, as what I know of that, it's about the flow of energy around your house. So things accumulating and festering, I guess, if you like. Yeah, it's about the flow of energy. And it's also, from what I know of it, I'm no expert on it, it's about the polarities. So, and it's about like north, south, east, west, and historically what they consistently found as a pattern of using, say, the north for your bedroom or the south for your kitchen or whatever. Like, that could be completely wrong because I'm not an expert. That's just an example. So it seems to be about that. And I'm sure that the ancient Chinese wisdom is right. I mean, it had like thousands of years to not be right, and people used it and it worked. So it's like the whole thing with herbs. I mean, we see herbs these days as if, and you see these information online as if it's like this brand new thing. And you think, well, Culpeper was talking about that, like his whole book showed this and proved this. Why are we even talking about it now as if it might not be true, or that it's a new thing? It's kind of always been there, and it's all we had back in the day.
Yeah, exactly. Before the days of Big Pharma. So yeah, it stood the test of time even now, especially like I said, in the eastern side of the world, not the western. But thankfully, it's coming back a little bit. But it's funny how you mentioned a minute ago about the owner's emotions, because I always try and explain that to people as best I can as well. Because you know me, I like breaking things down into my language, which is layman's. Do you know what I mean? If I can understand it, anyone can. So if you've ever been anxious yourself or scared, your stomach's in knots. Do you know what I mean? You get an upset stomach. Dogs are no different. So if you've witnessed a loose stool, how have they been? Do you know, has there been an incident where they've been scared or anxious? Because sometimes it's not even the food that's the cause behind it at all. It's just simply their emotional state. And I find a lot of people are chopping and proteins out unnecessarily just because that's what the internet says to do. Do you know what I mean? When the food might not be the issue at all.
Yeah, there's more pieces to the jigsaw puzzle, for sure. And that's the beauty of becoming a consultant. And the more you practice, the more you realize that. I never forget this Frenchie that I worked with for, I don't know, maybe 3 sessions. And like on the third one, like we'd kind of got the food as it should be by then. He was happy enough having it, as settled. And I said about walking him, and they said, "Oh, we never let him off the lead." And I said, "But he needs to be on like grass or sand or somewhere where he can really connect with the earth and really ground." And they said, "Oh, right, we'd been deliberately not letting him on grass in case he had an environmental allergy." And of course, from what I had explained to them, as he was saying it to me, he was like, "Oh, yeah, but now I understand environmental allergies are the same as digestive stuff." And I'm like, "Yeah, so let's start letting him off." Oh my God, within 3 days, email back from them, game changer. Itching had gone down, I don't know, it'd already gone down, but it had gone down to like hardly anything. Like he still itched, probably if he got stressed, maybe a loud noise or something, I don't know. But yeah, game changer. Letting him off the lead, letting him go around and be a dog and ground all that emotional energy. Amazing. That's all he needed. And had they done that without the diet, would it have worked so well? I don't know. It might have brought things right down for him. I don't think it was just that. I think he still needed some changes. But yeah, the two things together were the key, really.
Fascinating. That really is. Because I've noticed that myself as well. If I've ever like gone barefoot on grass, the pain that I always have in my back, it alleviates a little bit. Now I didn't know. So I didn't know if there's anything to that, but definitely correlation for me. Yeah.
There is. It's called Earthing and Grounding. There's a great film on YouTube. It usually is still on YouTube. It gets deleted by the powers that be, and then it comes back. And it's called Grounded the Movie. Have a look for that. It is a fantastic film, and it's got a baby moose in it as well. If you ever want to know what one of them looks like, it's like hashtag I want one as soon as you see it. It's so cute. And yeah, they find the grounding mats that they put down for them underneath the straw, and they literally sit on them as if they know. The thing about these grounding mats, though, that I have subsequently learnt, having had one as well, so I had a grounding sheet for my bed and I had a grounding mat, but now I've moved to a more condensed area of houses where there's a lot of electrical current. What happens when you then plug them in, even though you're not turning it on and letting any, well, not that it would take current because it doesn't work like that, but when you plug it into that electrical current, it's not able to ground out as much because it's so busy. The electrical wires are so busy, if you like. The way to really make it work in that situation is to have the whole wire going out the window to a rod that's in the ground, so in a flower bed or wherever that might be, which, given it's cold a lot of the time in the UK, a lot of people don't want to do because they don't want to leave their window open to do that. Or make a hole in their wall, but that would be the way to do it if you really needed to ground in that way. If you live in the countryside, you probably would, and there's not that many houses around, you probably would get away still with using these ones that you plug in to the wall. But yeah, the grid is pretty full, so when you plug in it's not letting out in the same way the energy that comes from you. It's not letting that out.
No, I get that. Makes sense. A bit like a traffic jam, and like the internet, when more devices are connected, the slower it is, type of thing. So yeah, I get that. Now, I just want to, I've said before, we hit that hour mark. I just want to quickly recap. I've said the APNC. So at the moment, the support package is there. So obviously it basically helps people that may have, I said, the level 3, the off-call one, ideally. But if they don't, it's not. You've got multiple pathways into it, which is brilliant. But basically, it's all about that mentorship and showing people what to do with it and how to take it to the next level, rather than just being lost. Like, what do I do now? And to me, I think that's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's more knowledge to learn at a slightly higher level academically. There's mentorship. There's support. There's also the whole formulation thing. So learning how to formulate with the software that we use. So that, yeah, there's lots going on with that. And also, as I said, we've already made the inroads, we've opened doors with veterinary regulation. So that will happen. It's just when is the question. Yeah, we've got to at least wait for the Vet Act reform to be finalised.
So with that being said as well, as part of the mentorship, does it cover like the VMD guidelines and what we can and can't say in marketing and things like that?
To be honest with you, we don't pick at people's own marketing literature and websites. It would be too much at the moment for us to be looking at this. Yeah. If we got wind that somebody was putting something out and it was nutritionally not right, then that's different. But if they want to breach VMD like regulations and say beyond the word support, then that might be on them, I would have thought. It's an interesting one because we don't have that many. Like, we've got loads doing the mentorship. We don't have that many. If you look on, I think there's more than 10 people that have completed the mentorship or joined as an associate. So it's easy enough to know who they all are. And there's a lot of trust factor because most of them worked with me beforehand. But I think in the future, potentially that could happen, but we wouldn't want to become like the VMD in terms of they're really looking at more supplements, aren't they? Than claims necessarily, I would say. And I guess if and when the regulation comes forward, that will be part of the discussion, is how is it regulated. At the moment, it's about the qualifications being regulated. It's about vets being part of the APNC, which you'll see when we go on there. We've got one traditional vet working with us behind the scenes, and we've got one traditional vet. When I say traditional, I mean she's not a holistic vet, but she believes in nutrition, who works openly with us and is on our list of associates as well. So, yeah, it's an interesting question of who would do that, and would somebody be going off and checking on people's websites of what they were saying? Does that happen in other professionals? I mean, people trained to be an electrician. Does somebody go and check their website to make sure they're not saying?
It's just different, isn't it? Because there is a fine line between obviously what the VMD allow and what they don't allow. But obviously, some people that step into the consultant world, the nutritionist world, they could then start, say, white labeling their own products and supplements.
Yeah, that would be different, wouldn't it, though? Because I think
educating them that way to.
I mean, the whole supplement issue is an issue at the moment because in some counties the trading standards and the VMD are really clamping down, and in other counties they're not at all. So you've got people who are being told, people like Vermex, who are just so fantastic, they're being told they pretty much can't say what their product actually does do. And then you've got people who are selling similar things in a totally different county that no one's even talking to. So, it's a bit of a lottery on that one at the moment. Postcode lottery, as I've heard you say before.
So I just think not. Again, a lot of people might not even be doing it intentionally. They just might not know.
I don't think they are, mate. But this is the issue that we've got with the pet food industry and the pet health industry, really, is the lack of knowledge in the product that they've got. And we do a lot of commercial support, either Katie or me, like independently, or the APNC, like both of us. They get both of us if they work with the APNC. People don't know. They just have an idea. And then they go to a branding company who gives us this fantastic logo and plan, but they don't have a clue how to make the product. They want us to tell them how to make the product. That's why they employ us. But then it's like, well, actually, is that really your product? Like, okay, it's your business, but this is how it's happening now, because again, we love our dogs so much that it's like we want to express that and we want to create. We're creative beings, and dogs open up our creativity. So they like trigger that in us, where we then suddenly get a light bulb moment, which we think's come from our brain, but really has come from our heart and might even have been beamed over by the dog, who knows. But it's like, then we want to do that as a business. And also we're all looking for different avenues to make an income. I mean, let's face it, the economy of the UK is absolutely dire. So all these factors are coming together to mean that we're seeing all this happen. And then the genuine ones, when I find a genuine one, I'm like, wow, that's actually gold. Like the doggy vits that do the goodie bags at the expo, I saw that supplement and I was just like, bang, completely bioavailable. The superfoods they've added complement each other as well. And it's like full spectrum, helping the entire dog's body, not just one part of the dog's body or a couple of bits of it. It's like that targets the different parts of the body, but also brings that whole story into it as well.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a good supplement. Like, who are these people? And it turns out that the guy, because it's a brother and a sister, and the guy is extremely knowledgeable about supplements in the human field. So he knew, without him knowing that he knew exactly what to put in for dogs as well. And that's so occasionally I'll find a really good supplement like that. But I look at most supplements and think, this is not putting the dogs first, really. This is just you bringing out your creativity, which I'm all for creativity. Don't get me wrong. The world needs more of that energetic creativity, more of that care that comes with that. But I don't know where the discernment is, I
definitely get that. So you do find, I say, a lot of people are ego driven too, and it does come across online. But again, egos don't serve dogs, which is why I am one of the most humble people that you'll ever meet. I have confidence, but I have confidence in my humbleness, if that makes sense, because I don't know everything, and I will signpost to people where appropriate. And that's why I'll always keep their offerings Great Britain for healthy dogs only, because that's safer for me. Liability, because I'd feel bad. I wouldn't want it on my conscience if somebody read something and then had backfired for their own dog. So I avoid it, and then I'll just signpost elsewhere. Now, thankfully, through to the APNC, and hopefully, like I say, in the future, bigger and better things come of it once this reform things gets finalised. But yeah, definitely things are changing. We're going in the right direction, and I'm hoping we're going to get the regulation that we've all been crying out for. And the ones that are avoiding it are the ones that are going to get caught out with it. That's why. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Well, it's been great to come on and chat. And if people want to talk to us, we don't really have a very good, do we even have an email on APNC? I think we must do somewhere, which I'm going to have to look at that. I'm guessing we do have a contact email on there. But what we've got is a form. That's the most important thing. So we've got a form for vets to fill in if they want to say that they think the regulation is needed, which we get a surprising amount come through. We've also got a become an associate form. So you fill in your details, contact details, all that sort of thing. Then you put in whether you want to do the mentorship or whether you just want to be an associate. And then you put your qualifications in, or your experience, or, your little blurb about you. And then you ping that off on the become an associate page, and then we ring you. Generally speaking, one of us will ring you to discuss where you start. Do you start mentorship even though you thought you could be associate, or do you actually have enough and can be associate,
Right, so it's like a tailor-made process.
Yeah. So they come through the become associate page. There's lots of people out there. I find new people all the time. There was because we're actually quite lacking in guys doing this kind of consultancy work, and there was a guy this morning that I saw on UK Feeding or something. I don't even know. There's so many groups. It wasn't yours. And I said to him, "Oh goodness, like please come to the APNC." And he said, "Oh, I can't really, because you only want people with degrees." And I was like, "No, we don't." So what I need to do today is go back on the website and see like how I've worded it that might mean someone would think that, because it's not necessarily a closed book that way.
So it's definitely multi-pathway, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you can do, like I say, send me a link for that form, because I will put it underneath this
Yeah,
episode anyway.
it's apnc.uk. It's that easy, apnc.uk. But if you go to the Become an Associate page, that's where you'll find the form. But I'll send you the full link, Mike, with that Become an Associate on the end as well.
That'd be brilliant. And I guess it's got a separate link for the current director as well, who's already on there.
That's on the same website. Yeah, that's on Find a Consultant.
So I'll put that on there as well.
Yeah,
like I said,
members of the public
audience.
Yeah, they can find a consultant and know. And there's 2 levels on there. You've got people that have achieved competency with like traditional adult dog recipes, puppy recipes maybe, or specialised. And then you've also got the next level where they're making the clinical recipes as well for like kidney disease, pancreas, that kind of thing.
Okay, wicked. So yeah, I'll link all that in underneath. Then hopefully, like I said, just create a signpost in place for people that need that additional support that this group can't help them with, and they just put on to the next place that can help them. So yeah, thank you for that. And I'm hoping you don't get swamped with too many inquiries.
It doesn't matter. I'm sure if we do, that will be fine. We'll end up needing an admin assistant. I'll be phoning you up.
Well, definitely do that. But yeah, let's touch base again after the Veterinary Act thing gets finalised, and we'll see where we're at then.
Yeah,
the next
yeah.
steps.
I don't even know the timeline of that, so it could be a year. You know how long these things take.
Well,
yeah.
I'll stalk it on the Parliament list. I'll have a look.
Yeah.
Right, but yeah, thank you for coming on. But yeah, enjoy the rest of your day, yeah?
Thank you.
Cheers. See you later.